Hi team, welcome back to the channel. And today, what I would really like you to do is take all of the amazing knowledge, amazing training, all around sales calls, how to do high ticket closing, everything that's centered on the call itself. We're going to take all of those amazing lessons and learnings, and I'm not going to ask you to whiz them out the window, but let's just park those over here for 1 minute, because what I want to talk you through today is how to make sales calls a tap in. So we don't need any of those advanced sales strategies. I spent nearly 20 years building and scaling sales teams, know every trick in the book when it comes to regarding discovery calls and making sure that we're getting people over the line. And the reality is, if we can build a business that doesn't require that level of difficulty and challenge on our sales calls, and instead people can arrive on those calls pre-sold, ready to go, pre-sold, pre-baked, that is the dream scenario. And then the next step is maybe even getting rid of the sales calls altogether. People are just ready to go. And there are 6 different things, and I'm going to run through all 6 of those things today that will allow us to get people pre-sold. And the goal here is, as you can see, a classic discovery call. If you take into account no-show rates on calls, if you take into account conversions on a call, if you take into account follow-ups and prep beforehand, typically speaking, it's time spent for you as a business owner around 4 hours to close a sale where you have to really convince that person on the call. What we want to talk about today is getting that time down to less than 45 minutes. That gives over a 3-hour saving per client. So if you're onboarding 2 clients per week, that's a saving of 6 hours per week, which would be 24 hours in a month. Think of all the things that you can do in your business to make your business better, to make your business stronger with those extra 24, or take those 24 hours, go and play golf, go and hang out with friends, go and spend time with family. What we're doing today is talking about how we get that time down. Now, before we get into it, just a quick reintroduction. I'm Dan. I run Orbit 100, and we specifically work with coaches and online business owners and consultants who are wanting to scale their revenue without the need for cold outreach, loads of DM hustling, complicated funnels, and scaling a massive team. Simplicity and lean, high profit, high amounts of fun, massive amounts of freedom. So if that feels like something that you're interested in the description below, there's a link to my LinkedIn and also Instagram. All you need to do is DM me the word Orbit, and we can tell you exactly how we work. Okay, so let's get into it. First and foremost, we want to be creating objection content. So we want to look at what are the typical objections that we get in our sales process. Maybe it's, I don't have enough time. Maybe it's, I'm not sure this is going to work for me. Maybe it's, I think this might be too expensive. Whatever those objections are, make a note of them. And then we're going to create content that overcomes those objections. We're going to talk about people who had those objections, who had those challenges, and how we helped them overcome that. And if you are following the process that we use, which is to have a flywheel of content between short form, long form, and email, and if you don't have this set up, go to the description. There's a full training on exactly how to implement this into your business. We want to use these different styles of content to have different conversations around overcoming these objections. Now, what we don't want to do is turn your Instagram page or your LinkedIn page into wall-to-wall testimonials and case studies, because it will kill your reach and it will kill your engagement. We want to just sprinkle these objection handling pieces of content right the way throughout. And it's even better if we've got long form and email, because in one long form video, we can give tremendous amounts of value and overcome 2 or 3 objections at the same time. Whereas in short form, we have to do that periodically between days where we're adding value or showing a personal story. On email, again, similar to long form, we can weave in objections through it. So long form and email become really good ways that we can actually do this. If we're not handling people's objections through our content, they will arrive on the call with them. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. And if we can use this content trifecta, all the better. So we get rid of the objections through our content. The next thing we want to do is give people an opportunity to see what it's like working with us. This is something that we often forget as a business owner, because we're in our business all the time. We can see what we deliver, we can see what we do, but we forget that it's hard for people to visualize what it's going to look like and what the experience might be like. So there's a few ways of doing this. We call it behind the curtain. So you might be able to run online events and workshops where you can actually go deep on a particular pain point that your ideal clients might have. We like to run those every 30 to 45 days, run a workshop. The other thing you can do is you can have roundtables. So you can invite your ideal clients and have a roundtable discussion. You can do it online, you can do it in person. One of our clients, Sand, her ideal client are high flying execs, typically in Silicon Valley. And she gets them together in their homes and invites a few of them, and they have a sit down discussion because she does leadership and exec coaching specifically with psychedelics. So having an intimate in-person venue where she can discuss her work and how it impacts people is a great way of doing it. So if you can do roundtables or in-person events, they're great. The other thing you can do, depending on what your service is, you could have a free trial or a trial period or a trial day. You could even have sprints that are, maybe there's a low ticket offer where people can get an experience for a lower amount of money so they can get that feel of what it's like before committing to a more premium service. So behind the curtain, that's one way of doing it. The other way is through your lead magnets. Now, we err on the side of giving as much possible value as you can. There's a lot of shit lead magnets out there. There's a lot of things. I saw one the other day, it was like a 38-page PDF document on how to generate leads on LinkedIn. I was like, no one's gonna read a 38-page document. At best, they'll put it into ChatGPT or Claude and get the summary, and then they'll just never use it. So lead magnets that actually slap, that actually add value. And again, it will give people an experience of what it's like working with you before they ever get to a sales call, if they go to a sales call. So giving people a sense of what it's like working with you is really key. So that's number 2. Number 3 is potentially the most important. This is your social proof. And there are lots of different ways to do social proof. We have case studies, and case studies can be done in different ways. So one way of doing a case study could be an interview that you might have with one of your clients where they talk through the experience of what it's like working with you. And then you show them on a call the transformation that they've been on. And one, they get to experience it and they get to celebrate their own success. And 2, for anybody watching that, they can actually see and feel and hear what it's like for someone to be in your program and talking through with you the journey that they've been on. So that's one way of using case studies. Another way is to not have your client on the call and instead you give a breakdown through email or long form or short form specifically of a particular client, the problems that they had, the challenges they overcome, the journey you took them on, the transformation that they got. So case studies are really key because people will be able to see what it's like working with you. They will see themselves in your clients. And if you keep your clients hidden behind a closed door or you only mention them here and there, the leads, they can never really get a sense of what it's going to be like working with you. Another one is testimonials. So this is like a video testimonial where people will just say what their experience is like working with you, the feeling that they have when they're working with you, the results that they've got. Those are the kind of things. They're super nice. And screenshots of messages. So if a client messages you saying, I've just hit a personal best in the gym, or I've just broken a new revenue record, or I've just added this additional thing to this skill that I've been learning with you, whatever it is, we want to get screenshots of those. So my business partner, Fleur, she has like a little folder in her phone where she calls it the pudding. So proof is always in the pudding. She calls it the pudding folder. And that's where all the screenshots from our Slack messages, from any WhatsApp messages, from emails that we've received. So capturing those things. There's two reasons they're really good. One is that you can show that to the outside world so people can get a feel of what it's like working with you. But the other thing is they're really nice to keep to show that we're doing a good job, because when we're running an online business, it can be quite lonely and we can often forget how far we've come and how many wins we've had. So screenshotting those is really good for your own mental well-being as time goes on. I promise you'll look back at those wins and remember them and be like, oh yeah, shit, when that person got that result. So yeah, really nice screenshots for two different reasons. We're trying to create a level of FOMO. That's what we want. We want people to think, I need to be in this program. I need to be working with this person. And that's what social proof does. It gives us that opportunity to do that. That's number 3. Number 4 is qualification. Now, I want to tell a story here about mistakes that I've made in the past with my businesses, and not qualifying hard enough before a call was probably one of the most expensive mistakes when it comes to this 4 hours and this time. Because effectively, what we get tempted to do as a business owner, as soon as someone says, I'm interested, we're like, let's get you on a call, let's sell to them. Now, they've said they're interested. We don't know whether they're the right fit. So the DM flow, whether it's on Instagram or LinkedIn, is this my ideal client? Is this my ICP? So we need to check that first. So we need to ask about their business, or we need to ask about their world. We need to understand the problems that they have and the goal that they have and what they're trying to achieve, to be able to ascertain whether or not this is the right type of client for me. So really important, because we understand the problems and the challenges. So we figure out what's going wrong, what are the barriers that they have right now. And all of this is in message. Because if we do this in a call, it turns the call into a full sales call, and we have to do a lot of different things. So if we want this to be a tap in and we want to protect our time, and we don't just want to spend all day trying to convince people on sales calls, we do this in the DMs. So we understand the problem that they have. And then of course the desire, like what is the goal? What is the dream outcome? Maybe we can ask in there, what have they tried before? And then once we know the challenges they have, the goals they have, that they're an ideal client, that, and this is also really key, is that they've also seen what we do and experienced what we do by seeing our content and understanding more about what we do. And spoiler alert for number 5, we've also sent them the VSL. So they've had like a full debrief on exactly how we work. At that point, we can say, great, let's jump on a call, because all the questions have been answered. They just need to have that last little bit, which we'll talk about in a moment. So we qualify heavily in the DMs before we jump people on a call. And the question that I often get asked here is, well, what if I'm earlier on in my journey, and what if I am trying to speak to as many people as I can, and what if I need to take calls where people don't know who I am? And the answer I always give to that is, look at your calendar. If you're doing all of these things and you're doing them well, you're doing short form, you're doing long form, you're doing email, you're doing monthly or every 45 days, you're doing events or workshops, you're building out amazing lead magnets, you're doing the work, and you have time to do additional things like off the chance sales calls that may or may not convert, then I wouldn't go against doing that in the early days. But as soon as you start to get feedback, and as soon as your calendar starts to get tighter, you should qualify in the DMs. I promise, I've been down this path. I've ended up with a team of 8 setters, 5 closers, and a sales manager. And I'll be honest, like 70% of their day was spent talking to the wrong people, chasing the wrong people, barking up the wrong trees, and then also converting at maybe 30 or 40%, with like 70% of people turning up for calls. And that's with my experience of nearly 2 decades building out sales teams. So we had all the things in place that you would want to make sure that there wasn't as much leakage. And even with all of that, we still had those statistics and those numbers, and it was a constant pain in the backside. So if we don't want to do that and we don't want to go down that path, which I hope if you're watching this video you don't, qualify. Okay, so we've qualified, then what do? We send them our VSL. Now I'm not going to go into detail about the VSL on this video because that's one for another day. But effectively what we want to have is a video, and it can either be a short VSL, 5 to 7 minutes, or if you want to really go into detail about how you work, you can stretch that 20, 25 minutes. Again, it's more time on brand as people watch this. In the VSL, we just want to talk about the problems and the challenges that people have. We want to talk about why we specifically, so why you, but why we are the ones who are uniquely positioned to solve this pain or this problem, what our vision is for them and their world moving forwards, what is the transformation, what is the mechanism, so how do we actually deliver our service, how do we get people the results that we get them, proof woven in, so like throughout this process we want to be talking about the wins and the results that we've got, and then of course next steps. Now there's a whole other training on making sure that this is really robust, really good, and just absolutely nails it. So once we've qualified, we then take people through, we send them the VSL, they've done that, and now they say, yes, I'd like to jump on a call. They've seen all of those things. That's where we get people on and we land the goddamn plane. That's what we do. So we have done all of this work to get them pre-sold or pre-baked, the cookie kind, not the high kind. And now we want to just invite them to work with us. So now we get them on a call and we're not answering questions about how does this work? How does that work? Will it work for me? You know, what's the time commitment? Any of those things, because all of those things have been answered. And that's the real key here. Like all of those things have been answered. So we get them on a call. I like to call this a fit check. So is this person the right vibe? Because what you don't want is a bad apple or a bad egg or whatever it may be, because a rotten apple will upset the apple cart. And I have, unfortunately, in my experience over the years, had many occasions where we've onboarded the wrong person and they've just been a fucking nightmare to work with. And what we don't want to do is onboard the wrong person. So jumping on a call and making sure they're the right vibe, they've got the right attitude, and also for them to get a little bit of a vibe from you. Now, they should have seen a lot of your content. They should have got to know a lot about your world. But also, it's good to have that conversation and to get to know them a little bit. And then you obviously quote them the price on this call and you close. That's it. There's nothing else. You don't need to go into the acronyms from the sales world where we're going to have this like massive Alex Hormozy, I'm going to close you, I'm going to make it difficult, I'm going to like tell you to bring your partner in the room and all of those things. Like they're all great ways to close deals, high ticket deals. I've done it for, like I said, almost 2 decades. I know that world, but I don't like sitting on a call and trying to convince someone and trying to like barter with them and trying to twist their arm. It just never feels great for me personally. I don't know what it's like for you, but if that's not your style and you don't want to do that, this system here, I promise people will turn up and you basically just tap in. You don't uppercut them in the face. It's just literally, you just tap them in, right? And they become a client and you make sure they're the right client. So if we do all of these things, this is how we save massive amounts of time, not wasting with the wrong leads who are going to become the wrong clients. We don't want to do any of that. We want to be efficient. And this is how we do it. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. I'll see you on the next video.